Miss Lauren Hardy, so happy to have you on the show. I've seen you just all over the place, coaching, virtual wholesaling, really just being a super mom, just beast investor and coach out there. So I was definitely excited to see you on the lineup for the 80/20 real estate show.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. It's great to have gotten to get to know you, even just our little chat before this show.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for those who don't know you, I kind of want to get this out of the way so we can talk day to day and personal development and kind of just like running a business, like real life day to day as being a mom. But I would love to hear what your business looks like right now, both on the real estate side and the coaching. We talk a little bit of real estate stuff, and then kind of progress into personal life stuff throughout the interview.
Yeah. So, okay, what does my business look like? Well, I've got my wholesaling company, and we are in four different territories that are virtual. I live in Southern California, by the way. If you can tell, if you guys are watching the video, I mean, obviously I'm in San Francisco by my background. No, I live in Orange County, California. All my territories are virtual. So I'm currently wholesaling virtually. I've got a team that does the majority of the day-to-day work for me. I have a director of operations that manages them very closely. So then I'm able to spend the other half of my day doing, YouTube videos, creating content, and my coaching program. So I've got a virtual wholesaling coaching program where I coach with Wholesaling Inc. And that definitely keeps me busy as well. So I've got kind of a lot going on. But I like to think of my wholesaling company as like the test kitchen, because anything I coach on, like I will not coach on something I don't know. I'm funny about that. I don't like to just say things and give crappy advice. And unless I've done something, I've proven it. I don't like to use products, or I don't like to recommend products I've never used before. So I use everything that I recommend. I use it in my wholesaling company. I try different marketing strategies out with it. I use it as it's a test kitchen for my other ventures.
Yeah, it's a good way to be. You get energy and fulfillment from doing that. And it's kind of symbiotic. Like you're doing the test kitchen with your own business, then you can coach on that, get feedback from people all across the country, get you a lot of different. She's over, I think, 300 students at this point now. So you get all different feedback and perspective from people all over the country. So it's a nice, like, cyclical wheelhouse of what you have going on, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's like a little ecosystem.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Laura, I want to talk. I guess like if I had to extract what would be the most valuable things or most helpful things for people listening to this that are mainly wholesalers, anywhere from like brand new, but probably more so established, maybe doing like a handful of deals a month consistently, is
Mhm.
probably that, like the perspective that you're getting from your ecosystem, how you started in real estate, maybe pivoted. I don't know if you were doing deals prior to California or prior to going virtual, but I know a lot of people in California or more expensive markets likes to go into either East Coast or Midwest markets, which I'm excited to hear where you're at. But I think that might be the most valuable thing. Maybe just looking back the last year or two and just talk about what's been successful for yourself and your students in business. I guess we can start that with why virtual wholesaling instead of local.
Yeah, I love the question, why virtual wholesaling, especially because right now it's been on my mind a lot. I created some videos on real estate market cycles, because that's just such an interesting topic right now, because everybody's asking what's going to happen in the real estate market, like what
Mm-hmm.
is going on. So something that I learned early on in my career that really benefited me from day one to now, I attribute it to the reason I've never lost money in real estate investing. And I've always been it's the reason I am virtual, really, is because I understood market cycles. So when I first got started, there was this guy named Bruce Norris, and he is an economist. He's also a real estate investor. And he presented at a local real estate investment association, and he explained the four phases of a real estate cycle. And he explained that concept to me. I didn't really know, I didn't understand the phases, I didn't know what phase we were in. So it was really beneficial to learn, that real estate is cyclical, and that real estate is also it's a localized trade. It's very local. And any market can be in different stages of the cycle at different times. So it's not just like the whole United States is in phase
Mhm.
one of the cycle. It could be, you know, one part is in phase three, one's still in phase two. So when I was in California, I did start in my backyard. I was a house flipper, flipping homes in my backyard. But what happened was we got, you know, in more of a phase two, phase three, even a little quicker than a lot of other areas in the country. What I mean by that is the demand for housing increased and our market got much hotter faster than other parts of the country. So as a house flipper, you're trying to find deals. My whole business, my whole livelihood is on me finding a discounted real estate. You know,
Mhm.
getting a seller to sell me their home at a discount. That's my whole livelihood. And it was
Mhm.
getting where like 3 months would go by and I couldn't get a deal under contract. You know, 4 months. Now by 5 months, I'm like sweating, I'm losing sleep. I'm like, oh my gosh. But then I'm looking because I don't know when my next paycheck's going to come. You know, after
Mhm.
I had, you know, homes, I was flipping anywhere from 5 to 10 at a time. But it was like, wait, like I'm not keeping up that pipeline because now I just went 4 months and I don't have anything. So, but I was noticing like my friends in other states weren't having that issue. There was still enough seller distress in their markets. They were more still in that phase one, early stages of phase two of the cycle where there was still some seller distress. There were still foreclosures, you know, sellers were still, you know, like willing to give their real estate away. So I said, I got to put all my eggs, I have to spread out my eggs. I can't put them all in one basket. Let me try another market and see if I have an easier time getting deals. And I tested it, I tried it out, and it was true. I had an easier time getting deals. I never went 1 month without a contract from then on. So what eventually I did is I started going, well, gosh, like I'm spending so much money in California to get a deal. I have to talk to more sellers. I have to try harder. Like I got to be like a shark, you know, to get these deals where like in the Midwest, I don't have to try that hard
Mhm.
and I'm still able to get a contract. So I decided to just say, hey, California, it's been fun. When you're back to say phase four of the cycle or the first part of the cycle where it is a buyer's market, like I will be back. But for now, I want to take my effort and go somewhere where it's a little easier. So that's why I decided to go virtual. Is I had a good understanding of real estate market cycles. I had a good understanding that, you know, you don't have to try as hard to get a contract in other areas. So I went where there was more opportunity for me as a wholesaler.
Love it. Boss moves, just jump into different markets. That reminds me of one of my friends in Alabama, Jared Irby. I don't know if you know him, but he
Mm-mm.
loves being in Birmingham, Alabama,
I
because
love
he
it.
always says that he's a phase or two behind, to put it in your terms, or the economics investor guy. He loves it because he's always a phase or two behind like the major markets. So he kind of just plays what he's doing off of that. And that was 3 years ago, and he still does that.
Oh, Birmingham is an amazing market right now too. It's like Silicon Valley over there. A lot
Yeah.
of they really gave a lot of incentives for companies to move there. So I actually think Birmingham is a major emerging market in the US.
Love
So
that. When you're first, Lauren, just to kind of like even just like break down, because virtual wholesaling, even for me, is so like crazy concept, or hearing about a whole company that's and you know, our company, we have a lot of overseas people, but like it's still kind of mind blowing the 4 hour work week principles that are taken out of like hiring staff that's out of the country working for you and doing
mhm.
all this real estate business, like not attending closings in persons or even looking at the property in person. What were kind of like the first things? I guess I want to hear what markets you're into. You said the Midwest, but I'd love to hear what markets you're in, and then even like the very elementary, very first things that you did when going to those markets, like obviously finding buyers, maybe talking to a lawyer specific to that state for getting contracts. Like, what does that look like for people that haven't gone virtual and might have like those first kind of thoughts, like, how do I even do this?
Right, right. So what I did at first, I did everything wrong. So, you know, I did everything wrong so you guys don't have to. The market I first went to is not the markets I'm in now. Picking a market is a big deal. Picking a market is huge. You really need to understand where the opportunities are and what opportunity even looks like. So that's your first step in going virtual is being very intentional about the market that you're choosing. So when I can kind of elaborate if you want me out on a high level, I'll give you some ideas, right? So first is decide what do you want to do? You want to be a wholesaler? You want to be a flipper? Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to build new homes? Like, what is the opportunity? Let's stick with wholesaling. So if you want to be a wholesaler, you need to find a territory where people are successfully wholesaling. That it's so gut feeling, like this isn't statistics, this is just gut feeling. Like, find an area where there's a proof of concept. So the reason I say that is because if you're having a hard time finding wholesalers that are in that market, there's probably an indication it's an indication that market might not be ideal for you to wholesale in. You also, at first, when you get set up in a virtual territory, you need to have partners. You need to work with other people and other wholesalers. So you need to be able to find people to work with. So, there's that, picking a market. There's more that goes into it, but, I don't want to, I could stretch this podcast for 4 hours. The next would be, your team. Who do you need out there? You definitely need wholesalers to JV with, to joint venture with. So try to find like 5 people that, you could work with, because if one doesn't work out, you might, you need a backup. The next is I call it a runner. It's an errand runner, I call them. And it's somebody that can just run errands for you. So you can find this person on Craigslist. It's someone you're paying, $18, $20 an hour to just run errands, property related errands. So going to a property, meeting a seller, dropping a contract off, or getting the contract signed by the seller if the seller doesn't have email, putting a lockbox on a home, taking photos of a house, even our buyer walkthroughs, that kind of thing. So those are some of the boots on ground you need that'll get you started. And just those 3 items, I would say, are like the big ones of how to get set up in a virtual market. I mean, I could totally elaborate more if you want, but if you have other follow-up questions, I want to say.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I guess we can kind of talk about you have to figure out what you want to do, what your end goal is, like, and kind of think about like your end product, like, and you might go hand in hand with the market. You're the expert here, so I'll let you answer. But like, if you want to sell, rentals for cash flow, you might be in a certain market and be marketing to certain type of buyers versus some other strategy. So I guess like after somebody knows what they want to do, it's just some type of level of market research and maybe pulling data, connecting with other people. I mean, there's local Facebook groups, investing Facebook groups and stuff like that. But I guess what would you say as far as like after you figure out what you're doing and you might have a team in place, kind of like a bird dog, mobile notary, errand runner, and things like that, would you look for in addition to like the wholesalers being active there?
What other things in a market?
Yeah, that would make like a market attractive, and like maybe speak to like the markets that you're in and why you chose them after the initial, you didn't you didn't do well with the first ones that you chose.
Yeah. So a big one, I like markets that have a lot of exit strategies available to me. Let me explain a little bit about that. So in Southern California, the average house price, I think I just checked this yesterday, and I was like, wait, is this for real? It's at 900,000 now. The last I checked was 850. So in California, your exit strategies are more limited because it doesn't really make sense to buy rentals in California, at least for my backyard, because you can't really use leveraged capital and get a return. You're going to actually be feeding yourself. You're going to have to pay your expenses, and your expenses are going to be higher than your rental income that you're generating because of just how lopsided, our prices are compared to rent. So in California, you have less exit strategies. So your end buyers are not going to be like the landlord buyers. They're going to be more like developers, high-end flippers, those kind of people. So I like areas where you have more exit strategies because your buyer base is going to be bigger. There's going to be more, types of people that might, different eyes on your deals, more people that are interested. So I love areas where rental areas where it's good to hold a rental. And what I've noticed is that is looking more like price point under 200,000. But I don't like too cheap. So I'd like the price point to be at least above 130,000. So that kind of gives you a little idea. And there's a lot of places in the US that meet those numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it doesn't have to be perfect, like 220, fine, but I do like that price point. Population, I definitely want to see that there's at least maybe 250,000 in the county at least. And I would like to see that there's maybe some counties next to it that have a similar population so you can kind of combine counties. That's just so I don't run out of people to market to. When you go
Mm-hmm.
too small, like you pull one list and you kind of get through it real quick and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the major, there's a lot of people that back in the day, the major metros were where I would like to go. I wanted like 1 million population and I was really focused on the major metros. But where we are right now, the major metros are pretty saturated, with competition. So I'm really loving the suburbs outside of major metros, keeping it maybe under 20 miles or less, maybe even 15 miles or less from the major metro. There's still a lot of opportunity in these cities. So if you feel like your metro in particular feels a little saturated and it's costing you more money in marketing to get a deal, try the suburb outside of it. It's probably going to be less saturated.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's pretty much my quick tips right there for picking a market.
Love it. And what would you recommend for like tools as far as looking like population size? I know a lot of that stuff is available in like Redfin, Zillow type stuff, but do you recommend anything specifically for looking at like population and different like large scale information on different markets?
Population, it's a Google search. Like
Just
usually
Google.
Google and Wikipedia will come up. I love Zillow's home market like analysis page.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a page, and I might not be calling it the right thing, but if you say, like, if you search in Google average house price Tampa, Florida, usually the Zillow page will be like the third or fourth one that comes up. That page I really like because it gives you the average house price, tells you a lot of information. Redfin's cool too. Like there's a good graph in Redfin that shows days on market.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool to see the days on market trend. I really
Mm-hmm.
like that, seeing
And
where
that's probably a really good indication when you're looking to see like how quickly people are able to move properties like into a market or a specific zip code you're looking to get into.
Yeah. And when you're wholesaling, it's different. Like what is great for a wholesaler is not necessarily like if I was an apartment syndicator, what I'd look for.
Mm-hmm.
As a wholesaler, I'm actually looking for a market that still has some distress right now.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if I'm, maybe doing like a bigger deal, a commercial deal where there's like a long-term hold, I'd probably want to see that the local economic conditions look like it's trending up.
Mm-hmm.
So for a wholesaler, you do kind of want to look at those areas that there's still some seller distress. It's still more of a buyer's market, but you also want like a healthy level of end buyers, so it's helpful to see are our hedge funds buying in that area. That's always helpful to look for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was interesting when my mom was just sold her house in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is like an up and coming
Mhm.
market.
That's a great
And
one.
it has been. She got a bunch of offers from different iBuyers and stuff that had like 72-hour contingency above listing price. She ended up selling to just like a family that sent a personal picture with their dog and kids and stuff. But
Mhm.
it's interesting seeing that stuff going on. Like you said, like Birmingham is probably one of those markets that you'd like to get something commercial in, just with the economy and everything going on there.
Yes. Yes,
I'd love to hear kind of like your philosophy, because a lot of people, like all these interviews and stuff, people are either doing virtual or in person, and wholesaling and marketing. A lot of it is like the same, but it's really, in my opinion, like the philosophy behind why people are doing it and kind of like their own research notes on their test kitchen to play devil's advocate a little bit, I'd love to hear just kind of like your philosophy behind the pros and cons of locking up deals virtually versus being able to go on seller appointments in person. I know you probably get asked that all the time.
Mhm.
And in that, would love to hear how you're locking up deals currently, obviously virtually, but to expand on it like more specifically.
Yeah. So I am a big proponent of locking up deals on the phone when you can,
Mhm.
because when I was doing it in my backyard, so many sellers were wasting my time. In fact, the most
Mm.
unmotivated sellers were the ones that made me go to their house first. And those were the ones that were bidding, me up because they had the time to meet with me. And like, they were the ones that, were just like taking, what I would say, and then they would go and have another investor come to their house the next day. And so I got super frustrated. So I do like the model of locking it up over the phone. My philosophy or my theory is that I can call and make 10 more offers in the same amount of time that you just drove all the way over there to that
Mm.
seller meeting and met with the seller and sat on their couch and pet their cat and all that stuff. Like that takes like 3 hours.
Yeah.
So my theory is you can make more offers and likely lock up a contract in the same amount of time. I will say you have to be okay with that. You're going to probably lose some deals. You
Mhm.
probably will. There is going to be, there is likely going to be a seller that you could have locked up if you just, had more of a, you meet first and you do that in person, build rapport, like maybe another investor did that and the seller just connected with that investor better. But my argument in it, there's no way to prove this, right? But my
Mhm.
argument would be that, there's also that seller that we made an offer to, but you couldn't because you were too busy, because you were with that seller, or are better up on our follow-up game because we have the time to follow up where you don't because you're too busy going on seller meetings.
Mhm.
So it's like such a, I mean, I don't, you got to play devil's advocate on that one. There's really no way to know, what's better. But for me, I don't have that option. We are virtual, so we have to stick with, what we can, what we can do, which is doing it over the phone.
Yeah. And like everything in life, there's different pros and cons to everything. You kind of just have to pick which pros and cons you want to roll with long term that you can be consistent with.
Yeah. And I've got, there's another way to do it. My friend, you probably maybe know him, Ryan Pineda, he does it a little different because he is local. But he has a guy that's just driving around all day. And that guy goes on appointments. That's all he does. He doesn't do anything else. Like he doesn't do the phone work. He doesn't follow up. He doesn't do anything. He's the
Mm.
appointment guy. And he's just driving in his car. But, in Vegas, like you can get from one side to another, like quite quickly, like 20 minutes, it's really
Mhm.
small. So that's all he does. He just goes, they send, oh, you got another one. Can you go to this address and meet the seller? And he's like, hi, so that's a way, if you want to get, do that, that's a great option.
Mhm. Yeah, there's a ton of different ways of doing it. I want to hear a quick team breakdown real quick. You kind of mentioned and also your day to day now, and then we can kind of just talk about life and running a real estate business and what it's really like in
Mhm.
real life. But you mentioned kind of like a COO person that kind
Yes.
of runs stuff high level. Who else is on the team currently for you, just on the real estate business?
Yeah. So the COO person is such a changing addition I made to my team this year. So I really want to stress that to those. Like, I kind of wish I got this advice earlier. So I think that's why I'm
Mhm.
like, let's talk about Debbie. I was so, first, as an entrepreneur, you're like, you just got one business and one baby, and you can kind of work in that business. But what happens is, as an entrepreneur, we get these opportunities and these ideas. And once you have that one business moving along fine, you want to start a new baby or have a new baby and you want to start a new business. And um, what you have to do before you do that is get someone to run the current business in your place. Because if you don't, you're not going to it's going to be very difficult to run both. So I learn from my mistakes, please. Like I went from, running my investing wholesaling company to then this coaching program in this influencer type space where you're doing
Mhm.
speaking engagements and podcasts every day. So I took my eyes off my wholesaling company and for a while, and it started getting chaotic. There were, things falling through the cracks. So the best hire I think I've ever made in my entire career is that COO. There are books like that you can read more about. Some people call it integrator, like an integrator position. So if you read the book Traction, and I think the other one, it's this written by the same guy.
Rocket Fuel.
Yeah, Rocket Fuel. Rocket Fuel. Okay. So that's that person, big hire. But other than that, on the real estate side, I have a virtual assistant on the acquisition lead gen side, and she's handling like texting campaigns. She knows the full like process with all of our phone lines and how everything's connected and how to put a list into the software. So she's handling that, and she's doing the our texting campaign. She also distributes the leads like a lead manager to our acquisition managers. We have 2 acquisition managers. And they're responsible for all the phone sales. They are the ones that are getting the properties under contract. I have someone who I call an underwriter / like disposition director. So he is confirming the offer prices that the acquisition managers are giving out to make sure that those offer prices are correct, because a big way that you could screw this business up for yourself is not understanding offer pricing. And what we found is like, let the acquisition managers just focus on sales and getting the seller to like them. Don't make them comp out houses, because they get an analysis paralysis, and they will take 20 minutes to comp a home out, where our underwriter is so good at it. He's done it for so long. He does a comp like 90 seconds. He can come up with an offer price. So, and he also, because he's the director of dispositions, he kind of knows like what would sell. So he's making sure, that their price is, right. So he's responsible for also like signing the contracts, like he has signature authority. Then we have on the disposition sales side, I have one person who is responsible for selling the deals once we get them under contract. So she will pull a list when we get a property under contract. She will pull a list in PropStream of all the local investor purchases, either flippers or corporate owned, anybody that's like absentee owned that bought in the area that could possibly be like a landlord. She'll get on the phone, skip trace that list, get on the phone, hammer out like 50 calls at least, to the local buyers. She's making sure our buyer list marketing went out. So if we do have buyers list as well. So, she'll make sure all the marketing went out appropriately. And she's responsible for really selling the deal and trying to get like kind of a bidding war going up and trying to get the just absolute highest price. She's making sure like she'll take down like who's going to the buyer walkthroughs to make sure like more people go. She does all the activities to really sell the deal. We have another virtual assistant who does some of the texting as well. They're actually my VAs are sisters. So she does some of the texting as well on the front end lead gen. But she's responsible for the buyer marketing. So like when we get a contract on a home and we have the photos, like putting it up on our website, putting it in all the portals to market our deals, like, the email campaign and all that stuff. So she does all those. It's very tedious. She does all that. And then we have a transaction coordinator. So we have someone who's like calling escrow companies, calling the sellers, making sure people are going to their appointments and signing their documents. And she works part-time. And that's it. That's the whole team.
Very cool. I love that squad. I do like the person that kind of specializes in doing the comps that also has their hand in dispo. They kind of understand the end product and what it will sell for. And then that frees up acquisitions or anybody doing follow-up just to have comps ready for them, give an offer and kind of get to brass tacks as soon as possible. So I do like that. I kind of like your mindset behind that.
Yeah. I feel like acquisition work is such a creative artistic process, and it's because like I used to do it, and I remember like I was like, God, like comping out properties is like it brings me down. Like I want, you're
Yeah.
in this
And we're
mode
not
of like,
numbers people. We had even before we started recording, we were doing some like basic math for the time zone. Even counting like to three was a challenge for myself.
yeah,
So I'm not a
yeah. It's
numbers
like,
person.
get them to just focus on getting the seller like vibes up, like upbeat,
Hmm.
like getting the seller to like you, call another seller, get them to like you.
Hmm.
Like just that's all I need you to do is just be in this good mood and be friendly and talk to sellers. In the comping thing, it's like it just brings them down. Like it's like
Hmm.
like, and then they have a hard time getting themselves back up. So
Yeah, it's good. It's good to keep people in areas and activities where they can get like energy and momentum. Because the next thing I kind of want to ask you about is like what a typical day today for like not only your responsibilities but just like single mom. I've seen like on different podcasts and stuff like that, like single mom raising kids, starting this business, which is like people would see that and be like, man, that's intimidating,
yeah,
um, and stuff like that. So I'd love to hear kind of like what your day to day looks like and how often. One thing I was thinking about this morning when I was thinking about this interview, and I just went straight to a local real estate luncheon and stuff like that. But like, how many days do you have like of your working days? I don't know if you work every day or Monday to Friday typically, but like, how many days do you feel like 10 out of 10 energy and positivity and are just like killing it versus how many days do you have where like the energy's down or just during the daily blizzard of stuff that comes in, you might be a little down energy wise or, long-term faith wise and things like that. Like, what is that like? Because for me, I took peace in finding out like when I started getting into personal development heavy my last year of college. And then my first year after graduating college was wholesaling. And then I went from full-time wholesaling into InvestorFuse software. And I've just been doing that the last 5.5 years. But getting into personal development, I thought that everybody was just like perfect. Everybody did their morning routine every single morning and every single thing. But I took peace in finding out that's not the case for a lot of even like influencer gurus, stuff
yeah,
like that. Now I make sure to tell people that I'm not perfect, even though I teach and talk
yeah.
on that stuff every day.
I've never been asked that question, but I love that. And I wish that I heard the answer to that question out of more people. Um, Out of the 5 days out of the week, when am I like I would say out of the 5 days, there's probably three really good days where I'm like
Hmm.
on it, like I'm checking all my boxes for that day. There's probably two where I'm not. And I would say Mondays, you're coming off the weekend, your diet wasn't right.
Hmm.
So I'm big
Yeah.
about, I am really big about the full person, that this is a holistic process. And I could say that because I'm
Hmm.
from California. we I when I first got started as an entrepreneur, I didn't understand balance very well, and I didn't understand how
Hmm.
important taking care of the whole entrepreneur, your whole life is so important. I would maybe do one thing out of my life really, really well, but then I was screwing up everything else. I'm divorced. There's a reason I had a marriage that failed. I had recently health issues for 2 years. And it's because of probably not taking care of myself in the years prior. So now Lauren today realizes that I have to take care of the whole person.
Hmm.
So my life today is very different than what it was. So, if I can give any piece of advice is look at the whole self. So look at your health. Like your health is important. You need to be sleeping. You need to be sleeping. You need to take time to breathe. Meditation, I wish I was better about it, but there really is a connection to stress and your health. And if you are stressing yourself out, like, I was, you're going to screw your hormones up. You're going to like I screwed up my thyroid and it took 2 years to get a normal blood panel. Like at that point, it was so hard to turn that ship. And if what happens is that affects your ability to work. So those three
Hmm.
good days that you have, maybe is one good day. If that, you might not even have good days because you're so sick. So take care of your health and your body,
Hmm.
and your stress, meditate, do what you need to do. For me, working out is a big one. So I try to work out every day. I have a 6 a.m. boot camp class I go to. It's close to my house. It's 10 minutes. You got to make things effortless. Okay. So try to make something as effortless as possible for you to do it. So my gym class, it's 10 minutes away. It's 6 a.m. So it's like, it didn't even happen. Like by the time I'm done, I'm like, oh my God, did that even
That's
happen?
so
Like,
true.
it's like it didn't even happen. I know I would used to think people that worked out in the morning were superhumans, but if you can just get and learn how to wake up at 5:15 and get yourself to a boot camp that's by your house, it's good for your health. It's good. You know, you're taking care of yourself. So I get up. I get up, I work out, I get home. My kids are at an age where I can leave them alone. So
Yeah. How old are your kids? I wish I'd let off with
yeah,
that, getting an idea of the family structure.
they're 8 and 10. So I don't know if
Eight,
I'm like,
10.
I think legally you're allowed to leave them alone. Whatever. So we have Alexa, and I'll log into the drop-in feature of Alexa and just drop in so I can hear like if anything's going on at the house. And usually they're asleep. And I do have a boyfriend, but he gets up early and goes to work a couple days out of the week as well. So sometimes he works from home. So sometimes he's home with them, whatever. So anyway, at the gym, I get home at 7. I get those kids out of the door, you know, by like 7:45. They're at school. They do have an after school daycare program. So that has made it very easy where like, I don't need to worry about, I tried the nanny thing and it never really worked out, partially because my kids are nightmares and they scare away all night nannies. Like all our nannies would quit on us. So they go to after school daycare on the days that I need to work a little longer. So I would say at least maybe 2 to 3 out of those days, which is usually my on days. They'll be at the after school daycare program till maybe anywhere from 3:30 to 4:30. That just gives me a couple extra hours to work. There are times that I pick them up right after school. Like Reese had a basketball game yesterday. Presley had volleyball. So I had to do a hang out at the basketball game, take Presley to volleyball, go back to the basketball game, which was kind of crazy. Yesterday, like it was, think of like yesterday, crazy day, right? I got up, went to the gym, got to my office. I had our leadership meeting. I had an accounting meeting, and then I had my videographer come. I shot 7 YouTube videos. I was out the door by 2:30 and I was at that basketball game. So, I mean, what a blessing though. Cause if I worked a corporate job, I wouldn't be able to be at that game. So
it's good to think about daily, like, how can I be grateful for the current like problems, or not even problems, like whatever I'm going, whatever my day to day is.
Busy. It was a busy day, but like it was crazy. I got it all done. And I was still like present for my kids, which was cool, and then we get home from the sports, we do homework. Now I would say one area, guys, where like I am not great with is dinner. Like I half-ass dinner real well. Like
chicken nuggets and mac and
they're eating
cheese.
the same things. Like it is, I eat super like meal preppy, like, cause I'm always kind of watching what I eat and I want to eat healthy as much as I can. So it's like salad and a protein. We do a lot of like, we'll make chicken in bulk and stuff and just throw salads together. Dinner is super sloppy. It's just get it in. We don't make a big deal about dinner. Probably should, but gosh, whatever, can't be perfect.
Can't be perfect. I'm a big meal prep guy when I'm home. Yeah. You got to pick and choose your battles.
The problem, one thing I see with women, we don't let things go. Like we've got this like Pinterest mentality. Like we have a lot of, pressure to like look like a Pinterest board and like have the perfect dinners and have family dinners and have, this nighttime routine with the kids where we do this and cuddles and we read books and it's a lot, so I've learned as an entrepreneur, you got to give up some of that stuff, decide what you want to do really well. And for me, I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I wanted to, have my own business, and I let go of doing crafts and having perfect dinners.
I love that. And like how much of that is magnified with just social media these days, like choosing what to post, whether it's for business or personal stuff and everything like that. But obviously you've had a lot of success getting to where you're at, so you're doing well. And the biggest takeaways from like the back 9 of this interview is that everybody has their different areas of where they have like energy and they're going to be most productive and happy and flowing in their days. Like obviously not everybody's taking their kids to volleyball and soccer practice like Lauren is, but everybody kind of has those peaks and windows, and you can kind of create your day and create your week around those. And a lot of it comes from being, your kitchen experiments. Like it's so important to have a rhythm and reason to reflecting on your past like week or days, which I talk about a lot. So one aspect that I'm seeing of Lauren's success is that for sure that she has that. And no excuses. She got kids and meal prepping and going to the gym at 6 a.m. So awesome to see and massively rooting for your success. I'm glad we got to meet on here. I didn't mention Wholesaling Inc. coach as well. I always say that towards the beginning of the interview, but she's a Wholesaling Inc. coach. As she mentioned, we have all those coaches on there, awesome, and help thousands and thousands of people. At this point, I'm going to have everything on your coaching and coaching and what it looks like to work with you in the show notes. But anything that you want to end on, again, like you said, like if we had more time, we could definitely make this like a mini series of different stuff. But
Yeah.
any closing words that you'd like to end on?
I mean, on the more like life handling balance work in life, what I've really learned this year is to try to make everything effortless as much as possible. So if
Mm,
there's some sort of barrier to, like, oh, I mean, I would work out, but my gym is 35 minutes away. So like, that's why I can't do it in the morning. Find a gym that's 10 minutes away or get like a Peloton in your garage, like make
mhm,
it effortless where there's not a lot of barrier to entry. Right now, am I in the studio right now? No, I'm in my little home office, with my leveler mic. I have like, so I don't make where shooting content doesn't have to be in the studio all the time.
mhm.
I didn't do my makeup or my hair today, as you can see, but I'm still here. It's effortless. If I had to do my hair and makeup every time we had to do a podcast, like I would do less podcasts,
Mhm.
which would affect my business. So just try to make the big things, the money moving, things, the money making activities, try to make them as effortless as possible.
Love it. Well, check the show notes, guys, to see what it's like to work with Lauren and follow her on Instagram at This Mom Flips. Hope you guys enjoyed the conversation and catch you guys on the next episode.